What's up, everybody in YouTube land? Bill Mack here with Pro Wrestling Unleashed. The year 2016 is slowly ending, and we begin the topics of the new year. Looking forward to the wrestling world and what new changes and what things we may see in the pro wrestling world. Today, I'm bringing you some three stories to me that were top stories in WWE. Basically, that I felt that were nice to touch on. To give you a little video, my perspective of it, as well as credit Solomonster with his ideals and his opinion as well. Three stories I felt that were important, that made an impact within WWE this year, and I really hope you enjoy the video. And the first topic of today I'm going to be discussing will be AJ Styles and his debut in the WWE. As you remember, early on in the year, he came into the WWE number 3 entrant in the Royal Rumble, and he has made such an impact. So let's get right into the video, and let's see what Solomonster has to say.
AJ Styles finally makes it to WWE, one of the bigger surprises of the year. Made his debut in the Royal Rumble match. From there, had that match with Chris Jericho at WrestleMania, which was a great match. Came out on the losing end of it, but ended up becoming number 1 contender for the championship. There was a great fatal 4-way. I think it was on Raw the night after WrestleMania that earned him the number 1 contendership. And had a great series of matches with Roman Reigns. Had his luck gone a little bit differently, because it was in June that Roman got popped on that failed drug test. Had that happened a month earlier, they probably would have gotten that championship on AJ even earlier than they did. But he, went on to have the series of matches he did with John Cena. He got the big, clean win over him at SummerSlam. And it's not very often that we see John Cena losing clean in the middle like that on a big show, but he did there. He's done a few times. He lost to The Rock and maybe a few other people, but it's still not something you see very often. And with this brand split, he's become the number 1 star on SmackDown and one of the top heels in the company, and he is now WWE champion for over 100 days. And we'll see if he drops it at the Rumble or if he can go all the way to Mania with it. But he has been an MVP for this company this year. I think that he is one of the best wrestlers, if not the best in the entire world right now. He is the complete package. He can do things in there that a lot of other people can't do. And I really think that he, even more so than someone like Seth Rollins, because there were people making the Rollins-Shawn Michaels comparison even just a couple of years
ago. He brings up a lot of good points. I'd heard some rumblings, that he was going to be WWE was interested in him. Remember, because he was in New Japan after he left TNA after been wrestling for TNA. He was their franchise guy, and he was there for 12 years, and he left, went to New Japan. He had performed well over there, which I like when wrestlers go to New Japan. It's always good learning and trying to up in your craft, up in culture. But yeah, he went over there, and he came over here. He came in the Royal Rumble. He finished third. He was the 3rd entrant into the Royal Rumble. He had a really good showing. The fans were surprised. New music, everything. And then I think he had some good matches coming in. Jericho was his first feud he had, and I thought Jericho was a great guy to transition him into WWE. Broke him in, and then, like Solomon said, he had some awesome matches with Roman Reigns, with John Cena. He turned him heel because when he initially came in, he was a face, but immediately whenever he fought against John Cena, he became a heel. And I think that was a great move on AJ, because AJ can play a face or a heel. I like him either way, and he's so over. Like you heard all Solomon say, he's one of the greatest professionals. Vince kind of thought he was going to crap on AJ to begin with, but AJ, through his hard work, his perseverance, everything he has went through, he has showed Vince that he can work matches, and he puts on some great matches. AJ has always been a phenomenal worker, and I just enjoy the fact that seeing him out there performing, him out there and putting his body on the line, making these great matches time and time again. He's just a great showsman for the sport of wrestling. Like JR said the other day he felt like, soon enough, AJ was going to be the most popular guy in WWE, and I believe that. I mean, even as a heel, fans are still cheering him. And he put on good matches against Roman Reigns, and he, like Solomon said too, he beats John Cena in the middle of the ring. He's beat him twice. And, that really shows you something when booking shows that when they book John Cena, because John Cena rarely loses, especially rarely loses clean. But whenever, Cena was leaving, AJ took the belt off of him, and Cena beat and AJ beat him, and he's been continuing on. He is the face that runs the place, as he likes to put it. But I felt like it was a good opportunity for him to be able to go out there and put on a good show, and he does that. He's one of my favorite wrestlers on WWE, other than Kevin Owens. I just think he's going to go, and I think 2017 is going to be even better and brighter for AJ Styles. So as we keep on with that, I just think that his ceiling can be even higher. He can do even more, and keeping him in that title picture is a wonderful thing to do. Is keeping him there and keeping him able to do that. So I'll be right back with our next story, folks. So just sit tight, and I'll be right back. And ending just a second. And I'm back, folks. Thanks once again for joining me again. Next story up we have of the top stories that we noticed throughout 2016 was the WWE's acceptance and more or less Triple H's acceptance of having independent wrestlers coming in this year, more so than we've seen in years past. There have been a lot of independent wrestlers come in and make an impact on the WWE. I mean, you look at today's current state of who the champions are. You have AJ Styles, which wrestled in TNA New Japan, the WWE World Champion over on SmackDown Live, and here you have Kevin Owens, which was Kevin Steen in Ring of Honor, WWE Universal Champion on the Raw brand. So we've seen so many different wrestlers come in. Used to WWE was all about them, all about pushing their guys, and they still do to an extent. But you look at the impact you've seen over the years. I mean, you've had Shinsuke Nakamura in. You've had Samoa Joe, Austin Aries, all these guys. I think that they have done a wonderful job. And we'll get right into it and see what Mr. Solomonster has to say about that.
Kind of leads into another big story from the year. This goes far beyond the UK, even here in this country. I think one of the big stories has been WWE's, what I call their indie embrace, right? They've been forging relationships with promotions like Evolve. Evolve has all been turned into a feeder system for them, because you know that if they have interest in someone from Evolve, they're going to get them. So that's kind of what Evolve has turned into. But they're also, creating relationships with other companies as well, and it's cool to see on the one hand, but I still, on the other hand, it's like, what are they getting out of this? What is the long-term play here? And it's just them being nice? Is it just them realizing that, hey, we have a lot to gain here by being friendly with these people instead of just kind of turning a cold shoulder? Because for so long, that's what they did with the indie scene. They were either just directly hostile towards it, or they just ignored it because, we're not going to take anybody from the indies. There was a period where that was the case. That was the mentality. And now they've done a complete 180. And
he makes a valid point, folks. I mean, also with these guys in the promotions, like you've seen Vince trying to embrace this in. Used to, you didn't hear. Now, he still doesn't mean Vince still doesn't recognize TNA, but he does recognize the fact that you see these guys like Evolve and these other, and I've noticed and I read the other day that WWE is looking into maybe showing some of these smaller indie things, maybe giving them some time on the network, maybe to work out some sort of arrangement to have some sort of that indie wrestling, maybe that good wrestling on their network, which I think would be a great idea, to kind of mix it up a little bit, because you've got all these libraries and things that they have of network on there, but they're needing more entertainment. They're needing programming, I mean, other than those, the pay-per-views and the NXT takeovers and sometimes these events that they have. It's just amazing to me how they show up and how you can see through them and what they choose to do that they're trying to gain these. That's where these wrestlers, and they've had these events, the cruiserweight classics that have come up, and these newer guys from all around the world have come, and they just recently did a WWE UK championship thing that they're going to have for the crown because they're expanding over there. So yeah, I agree. It's great that they've tried to have these because they see if they can have a good relationship instead of just blowing them out the water, which is what they've done a lot of in years past. They've actually decided to try and do something new in this approach. So to me, it's a good idea that they do this because there's some real talent. It doesn't have to be big, strong, muscular guys out there doing this stuff. I mean, it can be just simple wrestlers out there that are basically just doing the best that they can, and they're performing and doing all that they need to perform. So when you have that going on, I mean, you can't beat that. When you have a good connection, it's better. And I credit, folks, I don't credit Vince with anything. If anything, I give it to Triple H with this. Triple H, to me, has tried to reach out further out and extend what he has seen with these wrestlers and he has seen with this talent. And to me, it's just great to know that he is trying his best to extend talent out there because these guys are popular. And you see Ring of Honor, you see TNA, you've seen New Japan, you've seen these guys that come from those places over to the WWE and make an impact. I mean, Samoa Joe's probably going to come up to the main roster, which we all know Samoa Joe from TNA. All of us TNA fans that remember Samoa Joe during TNA's heyday. We've seen Shinsuke Nakamura from New Japan Pro Wrestling. We know that have watched some of New Japan Pro Wrestling that how well received he is, how flamboyant he is. And just knowing that he can put on good matches. You've seen Austin Aries, you've seen Eric Young, TNA guys come from there and come into WWE and even in NXT to put on these good matchups and to have them. So why not embrace that? If you're able to go out there and it only can help yourself and entertainment because that's what it's all about in the end is making sure the fans are entertained. And they're slowly learning that when you evolve from these guys in the Attitude Era, you've got to evolve into new and to now because the crowds are totally different now for wrestling than they were during the Attitude Era. It's a different bow altogether, but we'll see how it goes. I just hope that Vince continues on forging these things. It's great to see AJ. It's great to see Kevin Owens. It's great to see all these talents coming in and making an impact and having because they can put on good matches. And it's like with CM Punk, and even though he's not in the company anymore, put on great matches. So I just think that if he continues on into the next year, who knows how big it can be for WWE, but embracing these guys. And I look forward to seeing who they go at, who they have next. I mean, they don't need to raid these companies of their top stars, but I think having this talent blend in with their new talent is a good idea. So to me, that would be important. And we'll just see how the next year goes into. So we'll just take a break right here, folks, and we'll come back and we'll discuss the final story, in my opinion, of the top stories of 2016. So I'll be right back, folks. Just hang tight. And thanks for joining me again, folks. Finally, in today's top stories 2016, we see the return of Shane O'Mac. Yes, indeed, folks. Shane McMahon returned back in a big way in 2016 early on, as the WWE had been mentioning that they had been talking. Well, not that they have been mentioning, but we have been reading, and I've been reading that they've been mentioning a brand split with the WWE, and throughout the early part of the year, it was great to see Shane back. Shane isn't in now; he's not in a executive role. He's not in a managerial role. He's basically an on-air talent. But it was good to see him and Stephanie. He got a really good a really good reception on his way back, especially upon his initial return. And he and Vince, well, he was talking about how when the Authority done things, he wanted to make things better. He wanted to run it better. And then they had this big matchup. He had this big matchup with the Undertaker. And if Shane was to win, Shane would get control, and then Stephanie, whatever. And then Undertaker he put on a good show, big spot against the Undertaker in their matchup. And Vince ended up letting him run Raw to begin with for a few weeks. Stephanie came in, undermined him. They went back and forth with it. Finally, the brand split happens. We see that Stephanie is going to be the Raw commissioner, but Shane O'Mac will be the SmackDown Live commissioner, because also, too, remember, SmackDown Live went live on Tuesday nights on USA Network. So we see a big shakeup in trying to revitalize SmackDown and make it more popular, and having Shane McMahon be the SmackDown Live commissioner was one of the choices to have. So great to see Shane back. Let's see what Solomonster has to say about that.
We had the return of Shane McMahon, another one of those big surprises this year. I can't tell you how many email questions I got over the years. What happened with Shane and Vince? Is Shane ever going to come back? Do you think he's ever going to be back on TV? Because he was gone for so long. He was gone for like 7 years. And out of the blue, he's back, just like that. And in a Hell in a Cell match with The Undertaker or WrestleMania. It sounds like something you'd play in a video game. But that was actually one of the top matches at WrestleMania this year. I like Shane. Shane, to me, always came across as one of the more sane, rational McMahons. I don't know them personally, but certainly his TV persona always came off that way. He was probably the least grating of all of the McMahons on TV. And when he would have matches, I don't think he's ever been professionally trained, but the guy is a fucking maniac. And he had a hell of a lot of just entertaining matches over the years. I mean, I can go back to the very beginning and the street fight with Kurt Angle, and even the match with Vince, the street fight they had at WrestleMania, at the Astrodome, some of the matches he had with Kane. I mean, Shane is a fun performer more often than not to watch. I don't know that he should be wrestling very often now. He's almost 50, and he almost got killed by Roman Reigns at Survivor Series, but maybe that's a sign that he ought to slow down a little bit. I'm at least happy they seem to have gotten away from this idea that it's going to be Shane and Brock Lesnar. Hopefully we can put that shit to bed. Hopefully we never have to see that. I even said, if that was the idea coming out of SummerSlam, because clearly it looked like they were building something with him and Shane even went on SmackDown and said, this is not over, and then they never went back to it. I would be okay if at some point it kind of manifested itself into Shane bringing in some sort of hired gun or some kind of surrogate to wrestle Brock on his behalf. I would be just as happy with them dropping the whole storyline altogether. But Shane being back as an on-air character on TV has been kind of cool. I think one of the stories to watch for him maybe going forward is if he can somehow integrate himself even more into the corporate structure in the company. Right now, it's just purely a television role. I'd have to think he'd love to kind of get back in there in some form or fashion. We had the story come out a few weeks ago that there was a meeting that he brokered, or Kevin Dunn brokered in 2012 with him and Vince, where Shane's idea was that he'd come back and he would take over all of creative. And that, I'm sure, didn't sit very well with Triple H and Stephanie. So you know that there's still some tensions there, and I still would love to see them just, again, play off reality, come up with some kind of storyline next year where we can get Shane and Triple H face-to-face, and I would like to see that.
He makes a good point, folks. I mean, aside from what Shane has done this year, a lot of the backstory, as you heard him say, and it would be great to see them, Shane, because Shane has done so much this year. Remember, we had the Survivor Series, the traditional 5-on-5. Shane was one of the members of Team SmackDown Live, and he took that sick spear from Roman Reigns when he tried to do the coast-to-coast. He got a concussion or something from it so much it worked. His kids were ringside. Randy Orton had to go out there and let them know inadvertently that he was okay. But Shane's willing to take things. But like you said, he's getting older too, folks. He's almost 50 years old. But I do like the fact of him integrating himself into these roles. I mean, to me, it's a good idea to have Shane, and Shane being a part of that, you know. But like Matt said, the match with The Undertaker, you've seen the Survivor Series that he had, the 5-on-5, being a part of that, you know, trying to train, trying to make himself an impact. Yeah, I would love to see Shane in that, but Shane, there's so much bad blood, and Triple H and Stephanie Moore have more control over WWE than it was back when Shane went before. Because remember, it's almost what 11, 12, 13 years or so, 14 years before that since Shane was there. You know, Shane tried to get control credit then when he came back, and it was a different era than it is today. And Triple H and Stephanie are so ingrained in these storylines, ingrained in running Raw. Triple H is taking the years of being in the boardrooms and everything, and Shane is nothing more than an on-air talent. But yeah, it would be great to see if he could get himself somehow back within the company. But he has his own ventures as well, and who's to say that if his time runs out on WWE, he can always go back and doing what he was doing before then, if that's the case. But, you know, I just think it was all well and good. I think the stories were very good highlights for WWE this year over the fact of the jury ratings and stuff. So, you know, I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope 2017 is a great year for wrestling news, and I will continue. Whether I get the views or not, folks, it's all about those that actually do watch it. I hope you like my videos. If you do, like this video, comment on it if you want to see any other kind of content. Also, share this video, you know, subscribe most of all to my channel. And I would appreciate that. I will try to do as best I can, no matter what the views are. My passion is wrestling. I love wrestling, and I try to love to get it out there to you. So until next time, this is Bill Mack here for Pro Wrestling Unleashed. I will hit you back up next time. Everyone take care and have a happy new year, and I'm out of here.